One of the most misunderstood aspects of anxiety is the belief that it has to be fought. Most people assume that suffering means something is going wrong and that immediate action is required. So they analyze more, they monitor more, they control more, and they search harder for solutions. But suffering is not a signal to fight. It is a signal to stop interfering. When the mind and nervous system are overwhelmed, they are not asking for more effort. They are asking for rest. Not physical rest alone, but mental rest. The kind of rest that comes from no longer trying to fix, manage, or escape what is happening inside. The moment anxiety becomes a battle, the conditions for recovery begin to disappear. Fighting anxiety creates tension and resistance and demands continuous mental effort. And mental effort is exactly what an exhausted nervous system cannot tolerate. Many anxiety sufferers live in a state of constant internal activity. They overthink their symptoms, analyze their thoughts, monitor their feelings, replay conversations, and search for reassurance. All this is understandable, but this ongoing mental activity never gives the brain a chance to rest. Over time, this leads to mental exhaustion, not as a separate problem, but as a direct result of prolonged stress, worry, and self-focus. The brain becomes fatigued, clarity fades, concentration weakens, and emotional regulation becomes harder. People describe this as brain fog, mental heaviness, detachment, or feeling mentally shut down. This is not a defect, it is the brain signaling overload. When the mind is overworked, thoughts begin to stick, and this is a very important point. A rested mind allows thoughts to pass through naturally. An overworked mind cannot release them. Thoughts linger, repeat, and feel intrusive. Not because they are meaningful, but because the system no longer has the energy to let them go. Mental fatigue reduces flexibility. The brain struggles to shift attention. This is why anxious thoughts feel louder, more convincing, and harder to dismiss when someone is exhausted. The problem is not the content of the thoughts, it's the state of mind processing them. Trying to solve thoughts with more thinking only deepens the overload. When someone is mentally exhausted, even small stresses feel overwhelming. Conversations feel heavy, decisions feel draining, and social interactions become difficult. Not because the person is broken, but because the mind has no spare capacity left. And yet, this is usually the moment people push even harder. They read more, think more, analyze more, and problem solve more. They try to recover from mental exhaustion using the very process that caused it, thinking. This keeps the system locked in a loop. The same pattern applies to anxiety. What keeps anxiety alive is not the sensation itself, but the constant attempt to make it stop. The nervous system does not experience effort as safety. It experiences urgency as danger. Each time thoughts arise like, I need this to go away. What if it never ends? Or I can't live with this. The system receives the message that something is wrong. Stress chemicals are released again, the alarm stays on, and the exhaustion deepens. Not because anxiety is powerful, but because the struggle never ends. Letting go of the fight does not mean giving up. It does not mean liking anxiety or wanting it to stay. It means you stop treating your inner state as an emergency. Surrender in this context is not a technique. It is not something you do to get rid of the anxiety. It is the moment you stop recreating suffering through resistance. When resistance drops, mental effort drops. And when mental effort drops, the nervous system finally has space to recover. Not instantly, not dramatically, but naturally over time. This is why there is no overnight cure. Healing comes through repeated experiences of safety. Not safety created through control, but safety experienced through non-interference. Over time, the nervous system learns that it no longer needs to stay on guard 24/7. It begins to release gradually, on its own. What keeps people stuck is not anxiety itself, but the desperate urgency to escape it. That urgency is read by the nervous system as a threat, and so the cycle continues. Discomfort is not a failure. Feeling uncomfortable when doing something previously avoided or feared is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign the system is learning. Growth does not happen without discomfort. If you retreat every time anxiety appears, you train the nervous system to fear it. If you stay, you teach it that anxiety is not dangerous. The nervous system does not respond to logic, it responds to experiences. If you feel anxious, allow anxiety. If your mind races, allow it to race. If you feel sad, tense, flat, depressed, or overwhelmed, allow that state to be present. Much of the suffering does not come from the feeling itself, but from resisting it. Trying to eliminate discomfort amplifies it. Allowing it removes the struggle. And without the struggle, fear loses its fuel. Fear is not as powerful as it feels. It rises, it peaks, and it falls. Freedom does not come from eliminating fear, it comes from no longer being afraid of fear. When fear is seen as a temporary bodily response rather than a threat, it stops dominating your life. An intrusive or fearful thought is not the problem, but the belief in it is it. Thoughts do not need to be analyzed, argued with, or controlled. Without attention and belief, they lose its relevance. Thoughts do not need solving, they need less interest. Avoidance keeps anxiety alive. Each time life is postponed until you feel better, the nervous system learns that anxiety is dangerous. Each time you engage anyway, it learns something new. The only language it understands is action, and over time, reactions soften. Just as a physical pain signals strain or injury, emotional discomfort signals that change in response is needed. Peace does not come from suppressing experience. It comes from allowing change to unfold naturally. You may believe you want freedom from uncomfortable feelings, but in truth, it is the feelings that want freedom from being resisted. When you allow, control fades. When you resist, the struggle continues. And that shift is what makes recovery possible. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.